active member of our next Charter Commission. She has excellent relationships throughout Maui, and I know many will feel they can reach out to her with questions and ideas, keeping us all in touch with the Commission's progress. I thank Council Member Sugimura for nominating Ms. Canto. I think she's an excellent choice, and I thank you to all of the council members. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Ms. Sugimura.
Yeah, I just want to thank Bobby for testifying and for your good work for the community and the Ag Working Group too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Good to see you, Bobby. Thank you for coming. Next, Mr. Clerk.
The next person we have signed up to testify is Joe Kent, to be followed by Paul Delorier.
Morning.
Morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Aloha, Chair Lee and council members. My name is Joe Kent, and I'm the Executive Vice President of the nonprofit Grassroots Institute of Hawaii. I'm also a paid lobbyist representing our nonprofit. Our mission is to educate about individual liberty, economic freedom, and accountable government. We're offering comments on CR 21-1, a bill that would require 201H projects to be 75% affordable. So we believe this bill is well intended, but we're concerned that it may actually have the opposite effect and slow the growth of housing and encourage the development of high-end housing like mansions. Virtually all housing projects on Maui that are 100% affordable are given government subsidies of one kind or another. So often the only way these projects can pencil out is through government subsidies paid by taxpayers. So the proposal would shift the cost of housing projects to taxpayers. We looked at a 2020 survey of over 1,000 municipalities across the US and saw that only 3 had affordable housing requirements higher than 75%. And those are Santa Paula, California, Oxnard, California, and Aquina, Massachusetts. All 3 require 100% affordable housing, and all saw housing growth decline by more than 60% during the decade after the policy was adopted. Meanwhile, Maui County's burdensome housing regulations have slowed the development of housing, resulting in the fast track process taking 3 to 5 years to get approval, and the slow track process taking more than a decade. And so this effectively makes Maui's affordable housing program mandatory for those developers who want to provide homes in less than a decade. Instead of providing affordable housing, then, developers are likely to focus on building high-end housing, since it's easier to build a mansion on Maui than it is to build a low-rise apartment. And so thus, the policy intended to generate more affordable housing will actually do the opposite, and it will slow the growth of housing and spur the development of high-end housing. So for that reason, we urge you to shelve any proposal that would increase the cost of housing in the islands, such as this one, and instead we urge you to consider reform options listed in our report, How to Build Affordable Thriving Neighborhoods. That's included in my written testimony. I wasn't able to submit it, so perhaps I can submit it another time. Not sure who I email. Yes.
Hear you.
I'm sorry, are you guys waiting for me? Can you hear me?
Sure, you muted.
Oh, okay.
Just speak for a second. One moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Might be a technical problem.
Ms. Sugimura,
Would you like me to, okay. Member
Ms.
Paulson,
Sugimura,
do you have your hand up?
Thank you. Oh, did Ms. Paulson have her hand up?
I saw yours first. Can you, one of
Okay.
you, please go forward?
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Can you please submit your testimony as well as the report? We would love to. Thank you.
Yes, yes. I have a lot more data in my testimony too, including the 1,000 municipalities and their affordable housing requirements and statistics. So I'm not sure who I emailed to do that, though. I apologize.
All right. Any more questions, Ms.
Okay.
Sugimura?
No, but can the clerk give him the address to send the testimony to?
Sure. James, could you send that information to Mr. Kent? James, are you on?
Yes.
Okay.
We can send that in the we can private message him in the meeting chat. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And then we have one more question for you from Ms. Paulton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Kent, for your testimony today. I was wondering if you could clarify for us how this bill would spur more luxury housing.
Sure.
I mean, more so than it already has been spurred by all the luxury housing coming up right now.
Sure. Well, if let's say you have a 1 acre to build a low-rise apartment building, and 75% has to go to below market rates. That means the 25% have to be priced at such a rate that it would recoup that cost. So now you have to find someone who's going to pay lots more money than it's worth to live in a low-rise apartment building. And it's hard to find those clients, and rather than go through that rigmarole, it's sometimes easier to just build the mansion. So in that respect, we feel that this may actually have the unintended consequence.
Okay, so you don't have any proof or studies or anything. It's just a feeling of an unintended consequence.
Oh, no. We have studies on that. We have a report that we've written about the housing regulations in Hawaii and across the nation. We've compared them. And the report is called How to Build Affordable Thriving Neighborhoods. We can send that to you too.
And to clarify, when you say we've written, you are speaking about
The Grassroots Institute of Hawaii. Yeah.
Okay, and you're a
We're a
paid lobbyist
nonprofit.
for that. Are you a
I'm
paid,
sorry?
Are you a paid member of that organization?
Yes. I said earlier I'm a paid lobbyist for the nonprofit. That's right.
Thank you.
I see Mr. Sinensi has a question.
Thank you, Chair. Just clarification, which was the nonprofit, Mr. Kent?
The nonprofit is called the Grassroots Institute of Hawaii.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mr. Molino?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Kent, and thank you for sharing a real much more balanced perspective of the legislation. Now, in your testimony, I guess you mentioned the concern that it could disincentivize developers from doing affordable housing projects. But as it is right now, as I mentioned to an earlier testifier, we already have 4 projects that are ready to go, one at 65%, another one at 100%. So I'm having a hard time seeing how this legislation could deter developers, because it seems like they're open to it. And plus, as you know, with this fast track process, they're getting considerable cost benefits, exemptions and waivers, waiver of fees. So your membership, is it made up of developers in the Grass Institute or other business folks?
Oh, no. We testify on all measures concerning regulation. We often advocate for lower regulation and lower taxes and more government accountability. So we often speak on the housing issue. Hawaii has the most burdensome housing regulations in the nation. This would put Maui at the 4th highest housing requirements in the nation below the 3 municipalities that I mentioned. So this is not decreasing regulation, this is increasing hurdles to housing. There may be those projects that make it through, such as the ones you mentioned, but often those are subsidized. The only way to make those pencil out is through government subsidies, and so that puts a burden on the taxpayer then. So we're just pointing that out.
Okay, but Mr. Kent, the developer can pass those costs off to the market rate homes too, right, to pencil it out?
That's correct, and I was trying to, maybe I didn't explain it correctly. Basically, I'm trying to say that if the percentage of market rate homes is smaller and that has to cover the cost of the affordable homes, it's hard to find someone who's going to pay, millions and millions of dollars to live in a low-rise apartment building. If you're a developer that has 1 acre to build, that's the dilemma you're faced with.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any more questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Kent. May we have the next testifier?
Next person signed up to testify is Paul Delorier, to be followed by Everett Kaneshige.